So in today's video, we're going to talk about a couple issues that I think have been coming up a lot recently. It's been coming out through the life cycle of the entire game. And that is one, at some point you lose aim assist, which ends up being a huge issue, which we'll kind of talk about why that particular thing happens. And the second part I want to talk about is specific to people that play with a controller on their computers. And what that ends up happening right over here, we have a thing called scale aim assist with FoV. And some people were asking me a ton of questions about this. I tried to explain it as best I could, but I thought I'd put a video together for this. So that's what we're going to be covering in today's video. Why sometimes you lose aim assist, how the actual aim assist works, and then what settings should you be using when you are playing on PC when it comes to this particular setting. Should you use enabled? Should you use disabled? If you enjoy the video or learn something new, please do me a favor hitting that like button. Goal in today's video is 1,500 likes. And if you're looking to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, definitely make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Also, just a heads up, my Gfuel code has been boosted from 10% up to 30%. Link in the description, or just use code JGOD at checkout. And that's whether or not you're trying to restock or try it out for the first time. So one of the first issues that I think most people dealt with when it came to multiplayer was the broken object hitboxes. And what I mean by that is early on in the game's life cycle, they had issues where if you were on this dirt, you could not shoot through this dirt. The animations or whatever there is, the blockiness that covers up here, it was actually like a few inches higher than the actual dirt. So when you would shoot right here, you would get this animation as if this part was shooting. So you can see kind of right there, you still kind of get it. They didn't fix it completely, but this is kind of an example that happens, like an easy example that I think most people dealt with. You can see that I'm aiming above the dirt, but I'm still getting a dirt hit marker, even though it's not there. So this was a pretty common one. And this, a lot of times, what you don't realize is this is also messing with your aim assist. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at one prime example, because obviously we can't drop in Warzone and show all the various examples of different parts of the map. But what I can do is go to some specific examples of why you would lose aim assist, even though visually you think you should have aim assist. And then on top of that, why there's certain objects you just can't shoot through, even though there's space. Like right here, you can see that these bullets will go through, but we're going to see a couple examples where maybe that's not the case. All right, cool. So now I'm on Grasna Raid, and right here with Burger, one of my teammates over on Carnage. Link to his channel will be down in the description. And what you can see right here is there's significant slowdown as I put my crosshairs across him. Whether I'm hip firing, there's a little bit of slowdown you get going on. And as I put my crosshairs across, regardless of how I go, there's a little bit of a slowdown all the way around him. But as I go ahead and break the line of sight with this object, which is clearly see-through, you cannot shoot through it. And this is what I think ends up leading to a lot of issues in Warzone, because you're assuming this is not a solid object. But in the games, however they built it, they were either lazy or they thought no one would ever shoot through this. There's plenty of these types of objects where it'll slip through the cracks and essentially make you feel like, why did I lose all my aim assist? You can see that there's no slowdown at all. If I go ahead and cut back and forth, you can see that there's nothing going on. Go ahead and come closer to the pole so I can strafe and, you know, it won't break it. So right here, even if I strafe, I won't get the aim assist if he's behind this object. It's just not going to happen. Not getting that rotational. If I come up and break the line of sight of the thing, I'm going to get the rotational aim assist. So these are issues that are common in the game. That's why when you see these types of things, these are the ones that you should be screenshotting, recording, and then reporting to the Activision, developers, Infinity Ward, that type of thing, so they can fix some of these issues. And I think what ends up happening is if you look at Superstore, you look at how it looks in regular multiplayer versus Warzone, they're completely different maps. So when it comes to Warzone, it might not have been play tested the same way that the multiplayer one was, so maybe things slip through the cracks on different parts of the maps. I know other people pointed these out, but this one is a glaring issue in my opinion. You should be able to shoot through objects that you can see through, and the aim assist, it makes sense that maybe it's not there, but if the person's visible, you should have some kind of aim assist, which I think is definitely necessary when you're only using the little joystick. And what we're going to look at too is the general field of view. I'm going to put this to the max so it's as obvious or as most drastic as possible, even though most PC players probably are not going to play at the max, just because maybe they're not accustomed to doing that, especially if you're coming from console, which is standard FOV of 80. Prior Call of Duties, it was like closer to 70, 65 in that range. But for whatever reason, I guess to bridge that gap because of crossplay, they put the field of view at 80 as standard for both PlayStation and Xbox. So the thing we're going to be focusing on is scale aim assist with FoV. And right here, you can see it might look a little bit confusing, but when you actually look at the box right here on the right, you have the character model. There is a box around them, and then there is the aim assist box square that you see here, and it looks a little bit smaller when you're playing with enabled on. And the difference is normally differences in a perspective change as you go into a higher field of view. And what you're gonna notice here is as this box gets a little bit closer to this player, you're gonna get that slowdown. But if it happens and the object is kind of a little bit off, it's gonna make it so that you get a bigger bubble around the player. It's gonna be a lot harder to actually track players. And if you're behind them, it's gonna be a lot harder to follow them. So we'll kind of look at how it looks with it enabled, and then we're going to look at how it looks with it off. Okay, so this is going to be the first one with enabled, and what you're going to look at is when I'm strafing to the left, when it actually slows down, I'm going to have a little bit of rotation on, and this will happen just to go ahead and kind of track the target. There's a little bit of ADS slowdown, but a rotational as I move. And you can see pretty much right around here is when the slowdown happens, somewhere around this area. There's kind of an imaginary box. It's kind of tight box so that your aim assist is actually on the target, so it actually requires you to be around it, and it's going to allow for that precision. Let's go ahead and turn it off, and we can kind of see how that compares, and then we'll go back to the hip fire with it on, so you can kind of go back and forth. So with this disabled, you're going to see it starts to rotate actually a little bit earlier before I even reach the target. So this is where it's actually rotating a few inches over, I would say, if it was a real inches, if you're talking in the game. You can see how it kind of rotates around before I even get to them. And this is going to make it so that there's a little bit of a bubble around them, which especially at range can become an issue because it's slowing down over here instead of actually where the character model is. And that creates this little bit of bubble. So if he's actually running, it's going to be harder for me to keep up with him. It's going to be a little bit where it's inconsistent. The stickiness isn't in line with the middle. It's kind of all the way out. So it's kind of a little bit weird to play that way. And that's just a bad thing in terms of being used to that way the aim assist works. A lot of times people don't realize how big of an issue this is. Maybe they're missing shots. They actually added this feature because they didn't really probably run into it until they actually started playing on PC with a controller, since I would imagine that most of them that are actually playing on PC are using keyboard and mouse. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video or learned something new. If you did, please do me a favor hitting that like button. If you're brand new looking to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, definitely consider subscribing with notifications on. Again, quick reminder, if you want to join the community Discord, there is a free link at the top of the description, and that's where a lot of people have been partying up and getting into lobbies and getting wins with other people in the community. And if you're looking to try Gfuel for the first time, go ahead and check out that link in the description or just use code JGOD at checkout. Appreciate all the support on the content. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.